Hello friends, and thank you for joining today. This video is going to cover instructions for creating the ornament card. And this is part of the Christmas card class, my first Christmas card class for this season. So in your kit you will have a very vanilla card base, and this is the extra thick heavyweight cardstock. Then you'll have a piece of pretty peacock cardstock, another piece of, this is the lighter weight, very vanilla cardstock. You'll have a die cut of a bow from a die set that I'll show you in a minute. You'll have two ornaments with their little lids, little gold lids, and a piece of designer series paper, a piece of ribbon, and a label die cut. So the main focus of this card, the product, is from, it's actually from last year that carried over into the holiday catalog, and it's the Christmas Gleaming set, and we're going to use the ornament punches, the ornament punch pack that came with it. So I've punched an ornament, one of each, for you in your kit. And we're also using the paper from the Brightly Gleaming Specialty Designer Series paper. So two of the papers, this one and this one, that I punched your ornaments from, and then the stripe paper we're using on the front of the card. So that's in the holiday catalog. And again, it was a carryover from last year. And then we're also using a die from the Beautiful Bows die, the large one. And this is, I bought this die set but didn't get the coordinating stamps just because I thought I would get a lot of use out of these dies, but not as much from the stamps. And you know, sometimes I'm also trying to save my money, so I went with just the dies for this. And we're using the large bow for this card, and then another card from this same class, we're actually using the pine cone dies. And then, you know, it's got a couple really nice label dies as well. So this is a really good set. And then let's see, what else are we using? We're using, so the label die is from the Ornate Frames. And again, this is in the annual catalog, page 180 and page 182. And I think that's it for this one, yeah. So that's what we're using, and let's go ahead and get started and put this together. So first thing you'll want to fold, and remember this is heavyweight cardstock, so it's a little bit heavier to work with. So get that fold in place, and then if you've got a bone folder or even maybe a gift card or like credit card, old credit card would work to just get a really nice seam on there. And then we're going to go ahead and let's just set that aside for a moment and start putting a little bit of this card together, because I want the ribbon to wrap around this piece, but not the full card. So let's go ahead and put this together. And I cut the DSP just a little bit, sort of to go between your very vanilla piece and your pretty peacock piece. So if you want it just to cover your very vanilla, go ahead and glue this one down first and then trim it before you glue it down to the pretty peacock. But I am going to go with it being that in-between length, just for something a little different. So I'm going to get adhesive on this and center it as best I can on this piece. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue this designer series paper piece. That's a lot to say. Down near the bottom. And again, just do your best to get it on there straight. And then we can wrap this ribbon around to the back of this piece before we glue it onto the cardstock. And if you want a little adhesive just to help you out, you can put a little line of adhesive here, and then put some on the back where this is going to wrap around. And then when we glue the whole thing down, it'll really keep it in place. So just center it on there, tack it into that adhesive, and then wrap it around to your adhesive on the back. Put that adhesive a little low, didn't I? There. Okay, so now you have that. I think it's not quite straight across. There, I like that better. All right, so now we can go ahead and put this on our card base. Pretty simple so far. I really love the combination of colors on this one. Love that pretty peacock, is so beautiful. So go ahead and glue this down. This has a very narrow border on the card, because I really want to have more border of the pretty peacock so you could really see it. All right, so there we have our card, and we don't need an inside piece because it's easy to write on the very vanilla. Now we're going to go ahead and add this bow. I love this. It's so pretty. There's also a stamp in the, if you did get the bundle, and you could have stamped the bow on here instead of using this die cut piece, but we are going to use the die cut piece, and that's pretty much how I want the bow to go. So I'm going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue for this, just because there's a lot of parts and a lot of little pieces, and I just kind of just get it on there. I don't worry too much. I'm just trying to, you don't want it like too goopy and have some of it leaking out the sides. And you also don't have to worry about getting like every little stem piece down. So I'm working pretty quickly. Try not to worry too much about anything. This is crafting after all, right? We're supposed to be having fun. We'll put that back there and go ahead and pick this piece up. And I don't want anything really off. I want this onto this pretty peacock here, so it's not, you know, you don't see the end on the very vanilla, but you also want to try and make sure you're not going off your card, or it won't fit in your A2 envelope. And if you did go off the edge, actually it's really pretty too to just trim that. That's a nice look as well. So if you did end up putting it down and it's hanging over the edge, just trim that down. Okay, so now we're going to put our ornaments together. And in the bundle you actually have the stamps, so you could stamp and then punch with the punches. Do I have one of the punches here? No, I don't have them right here. Or I just punched it right out of the designer series paper. So I think I'm going to use a glue dot to put these little toppers on. So I just punched just the top end of the punch with this paper. So I didn't even really like waste any. So you have those little pieces in your packet. There, so there's that one. And then I'll do the other one. I go back and forth between whether I like the glue dots that are on the roll or the ones that are on the sheets. And I really like it when the ones on the sheets, they end up on here and not on the white part because it's a lot easier to see. And I'm going to go ahead and put this right on here actually. So I get it exactly where I want it, and then take this little guy. And like I said, if I might have punched it just a little bit bigger. You might have a couple little pieces you want to snip off there. And then just line up the top. Work with me here. There we go. There. So now we have our two ornaments. So pretty and so elegant and very easy. Just a quick little punch with the hand punch. And I am going to use some, so where do I want to put these on here? I don't want really too much hanging into this area because I still have a word label to put on here. So I think I'm going to put this one in this area and then this guy hanging right about there. So I think that's my plan, and I'm going to use some dimensionals to pop this up off the page. And if you have the dimensionals, go ahead and use these side pieces because that's what they're there for. No sense letting that go to waste. So just my other little tip for you. So take these backings off. And then we're going to place this guy down. You can have him come right off of that large branch. I have to hold this up to make sure I got this straight. It's mostly straight. There. And then same with this one. Oops. Put a couple dimensionals on the back of him. And let's place him right there. Okay, beautiful. And then the last part for this card is your little label piece. Now, if you have, in your kit, you got a strip of words. And on that strip, there's different languages. So I went ahead and took my strip and I cut all the pieces, all the English holiday words off of my piece. I'm going to be using some for a couple of the other cards, so I don't have them all here. But I think I ended up with about maybe 8. Anyway, so if you want to use one of those on this card, that would work. So for example, if I wanted to use the Be Merry, I could place that just right in the center of this, and the red looks really pretty with it. I would like one a little bit bigger than that for this label piece, but if you do only have a small one left, and the green would work perfectly with this, but I think the red is very pretty as well. You can also just glue this onto another piece of cardstock just to make it larger in scope. So, but I wanted to tell you a couple of tips. So I am not going to use one of those pieces on mine. What I'm going to do instead is I took a word stamp from this set. This is called Little Treats, and it comes in a bundle with I just happen to have the dies right here next to me. This die set, which it creates a little treat box. It's super cute, and one of the things I like a lot about this is it's got pieces for various occasions. So there's a little spider for Halloween, there's some tiny little ornaments for Christmas, and a Santa hat for Christmas, a ring for wedding. This is a present that could be used for birthday or Christmas. So it's a cute little treat box. It's really tiny, but a cute little treat box that bundles with this set. And in this set was this stamp set that said, "Ho, ho, ho, Merry Christmas." And I thought, you know what? That's a super pretty Merry Christmas font. I like it, and the size is just about right for what I'm doing, but I don't want the ho, ho, ho on there. So here's a little tip and trick for you. So if you remember, I've shown you where you can cover the ho 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 with a piece of washi tape and then ink up your stamp, pull the tape off, and then stamp it down. And that way you've covered up everything that you don't want inked. And so that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is just go ahead, and I've already done this for you, but I wanted to show you. Go ahead and stamp the whole image onto a piece of cardstock like I did here. I stamped the whole image on here, and then I just cut it away. I just used my trimmer so I'd get a nice straight line, and I cut away my piece. And what I've done is I did this on the same very vanilla as this label that's in your kit. So now when I go to put this on here, it looks like it was intentional to be a separate piece. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do for this card. I'm actually going to glue that piece down, and I stamped it in the Pretty Peacock as well, and that's going to go on there. Hang on. Yeah, so this is the ink that I used, the Pretty Peacock. And so one more tip, another thing you could do, because, you know, as you know, I can't stamp images for you in a kit. You'd have to be here at my house, and since I'm not having anyone at my house right now because of COVID, we have to come up with some very creative solutions or options. Another thing you can do if you don't have word stamps, and if you do have word stamps and one that fits on here, that would be great too, in any color. Black, gray, brown would work great if you don't have Pretty Peacock. So the other tip for you is to pick some word, some greeting that you would like on your printer, on your computer, in like Word or whatever. Get it down to the right font size and font style that you like, and print it out on, you know, your computer printer paper, and until you can make sure you've got the right size. Then what I do is on my printer paper, I always mark an X as to where, you know, it's up and going into being fed into the printer, so that I know what, you know, because sometimes it's hard to think about, well, how's it going through the printer? So I always put an X on the like top center of one side of the paper, just so I know, and then I print that image. And then what I do is I will tape, so a larger piece than this, because, you know, you don't want tape on the piece in case it tears your paper. But take a larger piece of, let me see if I've got one. Here's one, for example. So say this was my very vanilla. Take that larger piece, you know, find where the word is, and if say it's right here on my printer paper, then I'll just go like this, and I'll glue it and I'll tape it onto my printer paper, and then with that X on the paper, put it back into the printer the same way and print it, and your word will now be on a nice piece of cardstock, and then you can just cut it down to size. So that's my other tip for you today in this class. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto my little label. You know, sometimes we have to get creative with things, right? And I just think that looks darling. It looks like it was meant to be there. And then I think I'm going to use, let's see, I think I want this, do I want this above? Or do I want this, oh, I feel like ribbon needs to be grounding it. So I think it's going to go above. And I don't think I want to pop this up anymore. So I think I'm going to use some tear tape, because it's nice and strong, and I think it'll stick to that ribbon fairly well. And tear tape is supposed to just tear. Yeah, there we go. Didn't tear the first time. All right, and then peel that backing off. So Sometimes you have to get it down tight, and then it should peel off. There we go. And then I think I'm going to put it right here, again making sure it's not over the edge. And I want the bottom of this pretty ruffled ribbon to be on the bottom. There you go, and there's your card. I think that's, you know, fairly simple. I think you could do quite a few of these if you were, you know, mass producing a bunch of Christmas cards. I think you could easily do several of these pretty quickly. So there you go. I hope you like it. Thank you.